So in today's video, we are going to be doing a VOD review of DEYY's Cash Cup. He placed 24th place in this Cash Cup. However, he has placed very highly in many other Cash Cups. He even won one this season, and he's one of the best W keyers on NA East. And I basically just want to VOD review how he W keys, how he plays, how he uses his right-hand peaks, how he peaks controls, and when he chooses to W key. So starting right off in this early game, what we're going to be hopping into is DEYY landing at Tilted Towers. As you guys can see, he lands a hot drop just to get, more kills, more people around him, and just a, better place to fight. So as you guys can see, he is landing on the main building. He's trying to get the gun first. Obviously, he's mastered his drop, and he tries to go for some early frags rather than, kind of farming like most players would do. He goes for this player right here, and he's just, trying to secure that kill. As you guys can see, he's obviously trying to build up and get this kill before anybody else can. And he obviously does that piece control right there, which is fantastic, and he eventually gets the elimination. And he actually kills a pro player. That's TNA Zum. That's one of the best players in NA East right now. So as you guys can see, he looks for more people around him, and then he decides to go inside of the building and then try to loot a little bit more and just max up on those mats and that ammo. So now he starts going for other kills, and he's looking for players. He sees one in the other building, the taco building, and he obviously does get a little bit beamed, and this doesn't really make him stressed. That's one thing that's really important about DEYY. He doesn't really get stressed in situations where he's being pressured or he's on low health. So he obviously looks for a right-hand peek here. I'm going to actually pause it right here for a second. As you guys can see, DEYY is on the right side of this wall. He's not on the right side. He's on the, this left side. But he has the right-hand peek on this enemy right here. So just in case this enemy ever takes a peek at him, this enemy will have the right-hand peek, and DEYY will have the right-hand peek. So he's kind of setting up for more of an advantage here in an advantageous position. And obviously, you guys shouldn't be taking left-hand peeks. They're not as good as right-hand peeks. And as you guys can see, if this player were to edit on him, DEYY could always duck behind this wall, and this player wouldn't really have anywhere to go because there's no, other direction for this player to go. So DEYY is in a better position here to secure the win for the fight. So as you can see, DEYY's trying to use his AR, and he obviously does that little bit of piece control, as you guys can see right there. He places this cone right here. That just secures that if the player does decide to box here, DEYY can get the wall and then edit on him and then use this cone to his position. He can just, get better edits with it, and he can just try to peek at that player a little bit better. As you guys can see, DEYY is not going full psycho onto this player. He's trying to play, more methodically because he knows that he doesn't have too many mats. As you guys can see, the player does crack him a little bit and he does fall down. So in here, he's not panicking. He's trying to, play a bit more methodical than this player, even though he is a lot lower health. And continuing on with this fight, as you guys can see, he's trying to play really far away and trying to play these angles, which is one thing that DEYY does very well, just like other players like Kanata and Clicks that play fantastic angles in fights. So as you guys can see, he's trying to run into the building, trying to get away from this other player that's trying to key him. And obviously, he finds a good spot behind this door, and this player doesn't really know how to peek him very well. Obviously, this guy isn't very good, so he's just, kind of chilling here. And as you guys can see, he's just trying to bandage up. Bandages are always a useful thing, especially if you're lower than 75 HP. Never forget about bandages. They are decent, but I would never carry them over medkits or any of that. And he's obviously reloading his guns. I see a lot of players that actually don't focus on reloading their guns a lot, which is really bad. You guys should try to keep your guns reloaded at all times, including your AR, both your shotguns. Obviously, he has 2 shotguns. And he is choosing to use the charge shotgun simply because the charge shotgun is very good on controller because of, how the trigger works and how most controller players have an easier time aiming with it due to the paddles and the slight aim assist buff that you have with controller. So getting deeper into this fight, as you guys can see, DEYY is farming natural stuff around him just to get those extra mats. That's something I don't see enough players doing. And one thing I want to point out here, DEYY takes the fight back into his own build. So he obviously has this wall, he has this stair, he has this cone, he has a bunch of builds around him. And the one thing that helps him here is that he can easily take better peeks on this player. So he's taking the fight back into his own builds, which is one thing that I don't see enough of. And you guys should really try to just use your piece control to your advantage. And eventually, DEYY does, kind of psycho this player, and he does eventually get this elimination, as you guys will see coming up right here. He jumps on him, gets the kill right there. So as you guys can see, that was a pretty well-played fight. However, DEYY did miss a couple of shots. DEYY did, kind of move a little bit slowly. There are some issues that always happen. Nobody's perfect, but he still played that really well in order to win that fight. So one of the topics that I'd like to cover in this W key tutorial is obviously how W keying is affected by the time that you use. So obviously time management is very important. As you guys can see, its first zone hasn't even started moving and DEYY is already on the move looking for more players. You guys want to try to get out of your drop spot and rotate as quick as possible, and it's really important that you guys manage your time correctly in order to maximize the amount of kills and the amount of frags that you're going to be able to get throughout the game. And obviously, DEYY is rotating through the sand right here, as you guys can see. Sand is faster than crystals, especially if you guys have a direct path. And he obviously does hear some people fighting, so he goes over there and tries to third party. So getting into our mid game, DEYY is trying to use the element of surprise to get a third-party beam on one of these people, and he obviously does. He starts to ramp this guy, and then obviously does that little side jump. That's actually something that I don't see enough of. I'm going to go back for that a little bit. One thing that I don't see enough of, especially with players that like are not Zone Wars players and then just kind of like aren't comp players, is that little side jump right there. I'm going to actually go back one more time and just show you guys exactly what that was. It's a very, very small thing, but it's really helpful trying to gain height quickly. Right here, as you guys can see, what DEYY will do is he'll be ramping normally, then he'll jump off to the side, and he'll place a floor right here, and then a ramp on top of it, in order to, you know, it's kind of like bunny hopping or layer hopping. He kind of skips a layer, and is like, instead of doing random, you know, normal 90s, he'll be doing this instead, which is way more useful and way easier to gain height. As you guys can see, he does it right there, and then he obviously uses his double movement to get the, you know, the better peak right there. And obviously, you guys can see that DEYY is never turning this into a 50-50. He's trying to do side piece controls. He's trying to take good peaks. And he's trying to, you know, keep height on this opponent so that this opponent really won't, you know, have the better advantage in this fight positionally. As you guys can see here, he's popping mini straight on top of his opponent's builds because he knows that he doesn't have too many builds. So he can't really afford to, you know, box up and use that to his advantage. That's the one thing about Tilted. Tilted does not have great mats, so if you're going to be landing Tilted, then you really need to know how to fight without mats properly, which is what DEYY is doing. He's using his movement, he's using his peaks, he's using his fighting experience, essentially, to win this fight here. As you guys can see, DEYY gets the wall, gets a fat 93 tag onto the enemy player, and then he goes up top trying to get, you know, into this player's box. Now he's trying to make it into a 50-50 because he knows that he's way more health than this player, and he only does have 70 builds, and, you know, he's just trying to kind of box this player in and try to get the better position on him. And eventually he does get the beam and kill the player that was, you know, trying to run away from him.
I'm dead.
So as you guys can see, during the rest of this mid-game, DEYY is keying quite a lot. He just wants to get those kills and secure them in order for those elimination points throughout this game. Right here, he's trying to use the element of surprise on this opponent. This opponent doesn't know that he's here, and he's trying to, you know, just chill in the building and camp here for a little bit. And while the player walks forward, he gets a fat 121 tag onto the player, and then obviously cones him right here, fantastic piece control, and then finishes the fight very quickly, which is one of the best things that you can get used to if you're especially a comp player, especially a fragger. If you guys are on a team, you guys got to be able to do that, you know, without thinking. It's got to become second nature for you guys to be able to box people and just have great piece control. So I would recommend you guys, you know, practice in creative, practice arena. You guys are just going to get better piece control overall with those two, you know, practice methods. So obviously here, DEYY is being pressured. However, he's not, you know, acting frantic. I know a lot of players try to act frantic when they're being pressured. And he gets the amazing cone off and just, you know, his piece control is almost like the Reet of East. He's insane. He's very, like, calculated with his piece control. Obviously gets that piece control and finishes off his opponent with his AR. And then, you know, gets the elimination for the point. Which is really good. So you guys want to try to, you know, kind of act like that. You guys want to aim train. DEYY obviously has fantastic aim. And he also has very good piece control to go along with it, which is one of the best combinations for a, you know, tier 1 fragger in NA East. So DEYY proceeds to key throughout his mid game, and he has 7 eliminations now, which is quite a bit of eliminations. However, you guys will notice that there are 50 players left, and it is second zone, so this is going to be a bit more of a stacked game in a solo cash cup than some others. So as you guys can see here, DEYY is keying Kid, getting into the late game. What he's trying to do is he's trying to, you know, make sure that he's out of the enemy's line of sight. He's trying to stay away from the majority of people. As you guys can see, he's trying to, like, you know, fight people in places where he won't get lobby focus or server focus. So as you guys can see, getting into the late game here, DEYY is trying to focus more on the rotates than, you know, keying people. Obviously, he's trying to get, you know, a kill on this player right here. He's obviously on the dead side of zone, but he is trying to focus more on the rotations rather than just keying people like you know, like anybody who's a fragger would. It's very important that you guys do find a good medium with keying and rotations. Right here, DEYY is trying to, you know, stay a little bit more protected. He's just trying to not get server focus, which he is a little bit right now. But obviously, he has a bunch of hard mats. He's really good on materials. He has 2 floppers and an RPG, and he does decide to go for this kill right here. And his god tier aim just very, very easily secured him this kill. And he obviously can get the wall from this player and get the finish onto him if he does try. And as you guys can see, he meds up, and that's one really important thing that I'm going to go over right now. Medding up is really important. In the middle of a fight, don't just psycho into somebody's box, regardless of what health you are. You guys need, if you guys are below 100 HP and you have something to get you above 100 HP, I would highly recommend you guys try to find a second to, you know, heal above that threshold and just, you know, just kind of vibe in that health range, because that's really important during a fight. If you guys aren't above 150 HP, you're at a severe disadvantage in any fight, so that's really important. As you guys can see here, Day is looking for an impact frag for his materials. He is slightly low on some metal and some wood, so he's trying to look for them. But as you guys can see, Day is looking for kills. He's looking for kills on the lower layers, because if you guys don't know, what I'm going to basically explain here, I'm going to explain that there's going to be different layers. So this is going to be low ground, then I'm going to change it to yellow. This is going to be the mid ground, and then this is going to be the high ground right here. So in the high ground is where people will be the most stacked. So I'm just going to put an X for like most stacked. Then I'm going to put a double X for like not as stacked on the mid ground. And then for the least stacked, like the most shambles players, they're going to be on the low ground, as you guys can see right here. So Day right now is trying to play a little hybrid between, mid ground and low ground. Mid ground and high ground, and he's looking for impact frags on that low ground layer because he knows that most players there are going to be shambles, which is the best place to get kills. And nobody else in this lobby is really keying as hard as he is. Especially him as a very good fragger. He's very confident in his fighting, so he's looking for those frags on the low ground layer. So if you guys ever need to get impact frags during endgame, I would suggest that you guys stay on your mid ground layer and drop down, maybe look for 1 or 2 pigs on that low ground layer, and then go back up to the mid ground. You guys should never be on the low ground layer permanently, because that's when you're going to become the prey and not the predator. So right here, he's obviously looking for some more kills, but then he does obviously realize that he is in a good spot to potentially take high ground. And he obviously edits on the high ground and RPGs them, and then decides to take the high ground from here. So once he takes the high ground, he obviously wants to look for more kills. He doesn't just want to play this game normally on high ground, because he does only have 12 kills. And I know I say only like it's nothing, but for Day, that's not too many. And he's obviously not in the point threshold of, the top 5, top 6 players in the Cash Cup right now. So he's looking for some kills. He's playing this more high ground, mid ground kind of hybrid layer, and he knows that he kind of needs to give up high ground in order to get those, those frags that he wants to get on mid ground and low ground. And then obviously he bouncers up for the other high ground, and he does crack this kid, and he's just trying to use all of these various piece control techniques, even during endgame. As you guys can see right here, I'm going to pause it when he does this. He's trying to use this piece control techniques during endgame, which is one of the hardest things, especially during competitive. Like, as you guys can see, he gets this elimination right here, and then he's deciding to go back up and, get more kills. He's basically fragging out like a crazy fragger would, and he's obviously looking for all these piece control techniques. So as you guys can see right here, Dave's playing the high ground, looking for a beam onto a player, gets an insane beam onto a player, and then he does decide to drop on this kid. And as you guys can see right here, Day is trying to use this piece control during the end game, and that is one thing that a lot of fraggers have serious trouble with. You guys need to be able to do this piece control in the laggy lobbies of the end game, and you guys need to be able to do this with serious efficiency. The fact that Day can do this, which is perfect piece control in a laggy end game with low materials, with the pressure of winning the game on him, with people shooting at him, and he has to focus on so many different things like zone, like the amount of players alive, like the amount of like what his health is at, his mats are at, how many bouncers he has, and he's still able to do this, which is just one of the most remarkable things, and the thing that separates a good fragger from a great fragger. So getting deeper into the end game, Day is obviously looking for a couple of kills here. He's just trying to play a safer high ground, and as you guys can see, he's trying to RPG people because he does have those 6 rockets, which are going to be critically useful in him, placing higher in the game. And he's trying to RPG everybody around him so that nobody's really going to be able to take the high ground from him and solidify him for those top 5, top 2 places. And he doesn't get that kill, unfortunately, which is just something that happens every now and then. You got to get used to that. And he doesn't really look for that kill because he knows that if he looks for that kill, he is going to, be quite, like it won't be fortunate for him because he won't really need the, kind of mats and stuff in order to win the game. So continuing on, he's obviously still using his RPG. He still has those 3 rockets. However, you guys will see here that when Day does decide to, look for some more of those kills, he does get pretty beamed right here. He gets hit for about 150 or so, and down to around 12 HP, which is unfortunate, but he wasn't, obviously, his awareness wasn't there right in that moment because he was, he was focused on other things in the game. And then obviously he fights this player, almost kills him, I will have to say, but he does die inevitably to that player right there, which is just unlucky. I mean, it's not even unlucky, it's just that his awareness, might have gone out of focus there. He might have been focusing on some other things, but it's okay because this game was still fantastic. He dropped a 16 kill game, maybe it was a 15 kill game, but he dropped a very high kill game, and he placed 4th place, which got him up to 68 points. If you guys don't know, he started this game on 43 points, so that's a massive increase. That's obviously a really good example of how to W key in a solo cash cups and arena in general. This is really useful for any W keyers that want to get better at fighting. Me included. I definitely want to get better at fighting, and I learned from players like Day, Reet, Miro, all those insane controller players that are really good at fragging. But yeah, that is the video. That is a VOD review of Day. He popped off, and he's been popping off in all the solo cash cups this season. So if you guys want to do the like going more in depth into this by yourself, then please consider going to the replay files and VOD reviewing day yourself. But that's the video. I hope you guys did enjoy this. Be sure to use code SONATAFN if you want to support me, #ad. And also, please consider checking out all my socials. They are in the descriptions below. But yeah, that's about it for this video, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye, guys.